we have this little segment next. It's progress or regress. Now,
it's the last topic.
Second half of the season is coming up. We're already, I think, 40 to 41 games into the season.
Good sample.
So second half of the season is coming up. In the past, we see teams make surges in this part of the season. Last year, it was the Celtics. They were one of those teams. And I think this year, it's kind of the opposite will happen.
You're gross.
But turn it around. Progress. I want you guys to name me a team in the East or West, or if you don't have two, just name me one team. But which team do you think will progress in the second half of the season?
So
I wonder who you're going with.
You know what? First things first, I don't appreciate that level of disrespect, all right? I really don't. But for the West, absolutely, to no one's shock, I am 100% going with the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron and AD. Let AD get healthy. Let LeBron continue to cook up the way that he's been cooking. Again, 29 points at the age of 38. You don't see things like this ever in the history of the game. But I am interested with the way that the Lakers have been playing recently and the way that LeBron has looked at the age of 38, like no other player ever before in NBA history. Is Rob Pelinka going to be more willing to trade that 27 and 29 first-round pick to better this roster, to potentially get a Miles Turner, Buddy Hield, to potentially go out and get a Levine who's looking like he wants out to come to L.A.? That's more of the shot in the dark, no doubt about it. But I am interested to see what this Lakers team is going to do, because my big question was, what are we going to do to better the roster in the sense of if we're actually like that or not? Because it wasn't a sense of let's do it now because you don't want to bite too early, you don't want to bite too late. But I'm glad that this Lakers team is turning around the way that I did believe. And it's going to be interesting to see what we do down the stretch, of course, once Anthony Davis comes back. And in terms of the progress in the Eastern Conference, believe it or not, I'm going with the Miami Heat. I only say that for the fact that Bam Adebayo has been more impressive than I had anticipated. He's my equivalent of your Siakam. No, absolutely. I've never doubted Bam's defense. He's an elite defender, one of the best defenders in this game. But my question was always his offense. And the heater that he's been on recently has been amazing. I think he's averaging 23, 22 points per game at this point in time. He's only increased his offensive output year to year. He's gotten better. Jimmy Butler's playing really good basketball. Tyler Hero has played good enough where Riv believes that he should be in consideration to be an all-star. Of course, Eric Spoelstra is one of the best head coaches in the league. They're the 8th seed right now. I think that I can see them pushing into that secure playoff spot around that 6th seed and getting a little bit better, but securing their spot in the playoffs.
In the West, I really think it's just a matter of injuries. I think you have a lot of teams so far that have either come down back to earth or have been on bad stretches. One team I look at is the Suns. I mean, without Devin Booker, this team is nothing. This team was getting blown out. The Knicks were playing good basketball this year. Don't want to disrespect. They were getting blown out by the Knicks. I think that was the day after New Year's Day. So I do think once Devin Booker is back, obviously, all-star caliber player, one of the best shooting guards in the league. Once he's able to be back into the lineup, you're going to see the Suns be able to climb back into that Western Conference standings. They were the 1 seed at one point about a month ago at this point, and obviously they're taking a big step back. They're 2-8 in their last 10 games. They're right at 500, 20-20, sitting at the 9 seed. I do think with Booker back, you'll see overall the team play better. I see them, rise up in the standings. In the East, I'm more interested who's going to get that 6th seed. I think the top 5, Celtics, Nets, Bucks, Cavs, and Sixers, that's solidified, but that 6th seed is going to be a dogfight. The Knicks have it right now. The Pacers are right on them. The Heat are only a game back. The Bulls are, I guess, that 9 seed right now, but there's a big drop-off between the 8 and 9 seed, but it's really between, I think, the Knicks, Pacers, and the Heat probably still have a chance. I do like that pick, Drew, but I don't know. That's really the one spot in the East because it all seems like the Bulls, Hawks, Wizards, even the Raptors all have a chance for that playing spot. And the Magic sneakily, too, have been playing better basketball recently, 5-5 in their last 10 games. But for the East, I do think if I had to take it right now, I do think the Knicks would stay at that 6th seed.
Okay.
But the Heat are the one team I look at having the superstar power plus the coach with the experience that can move up.
For me, it's easy. I have 2 teams, 1 team in the East and a team in the West. Now, Miami Heat, I agree with what you guys said. I think the Heat are going to move up. They won't stay at the 8th seed. And Adebayo this year is averaging 9 ISOs per 100 possessions. Last year was at 5.5. He's scoring at 1.606 points per possession, which is 64th out of 207 players. And then Tyler Hero, what he's done, he's taking a huge jump as well. He's scoring on 1.1 points per possession on his pick and rolls, which is 19th among 166 ball handlers who have run 100 more of those actions. They have 3 20-point per game scorers. Harrow, Bam, Jimmy Butler. I think that size is still an issue. And everybody was right about the Heat in the offseason. We all knew they had a horrible one. They didn't get better in any way, shape, or form, which led to their regression. They still don't have size, and I think that's a major problem. But they will be a top 6 team in the East. And when it's all said and done, the Eastern Conference top 6 lock playoff spots will be the Nets at 1, the Celtics, Bucks, Philadelphia, the Heat, and
That's 6, isn't it?
the Sixers. Did I
Did you
miss
say the
this?
Nets?
Nets, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, Cavs,
Yeah.
and the Heat. Yeah, that's going to be the top 6.
Our Knicks are falling out?
I think the Knicks will fall out.
I think you're right, unfortunately.
Yeah, I
but I
think
do
they'll fall out.
definitely think they'll be the 7-8
Yeah.
play-in lock, that they'll
Who's your
make
West
the
team?
playoffs.
My West team is the Minnesota Timberwolves. They're
you're back to
19.
the
I had the
Yeah.
Wolves.
20.
I had the Wolves on my list too. But
Well.
He's
They're
back.
They've been playing better.
They are
Joel
back.
strikes
Playing better.
again.
They're the 11th seed. You know,
You haven't seen the
And-
best of Rudy Gobert. Quote by?
we
don't
have
Rudy
not-
Gobert.
He dropped 20 and 20 last night. No,
As he should. He's
Bro, you
The
saw
Wolves-
Point Rudy?
the coast
He
to
missed
coast
a
missed
layup.
layup.
I was sick, man. I wanted to make that so bad.
He should have dunked that shit.
I'm fake a Rudy Gobert fan.
That's
You look at the
Congrats.
Wolves,
I hate the
3-game win
slander he
streak.
gets.
Ant-Man in his last 10 is averaging 26, 7, and 5.
Playing
He's
really well.
really improved as a playmaker this year. Nas Reed has taken a leap off the bench
Shout
in the
out
last
Jersey.
10. In the last 10, he's averaging 14, shooting 39% from 3. McDaniels shooting 43% from 3. Gobert averaging 2 blocks per game. They have a top 10 half-court offense and defense. Their troubles come in transition. They're a horrible transition offense and a horrible transition defense. But I look at Karl Anthony Towns, his potential return, which is probably going to be in early February. I look at McLaughlin returning this month and Taurean Prince, who returned, who gives them a better floor spacer. And honestly, you know, there's been a lot of issues with the Minnesota Timberwolves this season. Most of it has been Rudy's defensive regression. But I do think that there has been a lot of unluckiness in the lineups Rudy has been in, because this is an alarming on and off statistic. So these are Minnesota Timberwolves players' 3-point percentage with Rudy Gobert on the court. Edwards at 34%. When he's off, Gobert is off, Edwards goes to 41%. D'Lo's at 36% when he's on. When he's off, he goes to 35%, so not a jump there. McDaniels goes from 35% to 37%. Jalen Noel goes from 19% to 41%. Cat goes from 19% to 45%. Taurean Prince goes from 33% to 42%. Austin Rivers goes from 25% to 46%. So for me, I look at this and I think that that's just a lot of unluckiness going on. Because, you know, Cat being a 19% 3-point shooter with Gobert and a 45% one with him on, with him off is, I think, just an anomaly. I think it's just a coincidence. I do think
It kind
that
of makes sense, though, don't you
some
think?
of it is attributed to spacing,
Absolutely.
for sure.
That's why.
But Cat is a great shooter nonetheless. And the regression shouldn't be that large.
No, 19 to 40 makes no
Maybe the
sense.
regression is a couple percentage points different, but
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of shooting bad luck going involved here.
A little
And
both. A little
with,
both.
With them being a top 10 half-court offense and defense, they can fix a transition defense and offense, which is mostly just effort and communication, then they could make a huge leap in the second half of the season.
Do you
I believe
think?
that.
Do you think that's more of a coaching thing? Because I know like the Warriors are a very rare substance, but I look at Looney and Draymond, guys who aren't shooting bigs, and I still see Steph, Clay, Poole having to be efficient. Poole maybe not this year, but he's for the most part an efficient shooter. I look at those three that haven't had efficient years. Andrew Wiggins. So you think this is more of a coaching scheme thing, or the
I
players?
think the biggest thing is they just don't have a player who can run the offense. You know, I don't think they have a general. You know, with the Warriors, it's
I was
Draymond.
gonna say, but it needs to
Steph.
be Anthony Edwards.
He's not a point guard.
He's
Should be
not,
D- it should
but
be D-Lo.
It should be D'Lo.
fair.
D'Lo was never a point
Good point.
guard.
Yeah,
to
he's a scoring
degree.
guard.
Yeah. Okay, my turn. We know where the fuck I'm going with this.
Golden State.
Duh.
Yeah.
And my West team.
That was my second team too.
No, for sure.
Yeah, but it's
Golden
my
State's
one.
got to be it.
Top 3 seed.
Beginning of the season, I had the Nuggets. I had the Warriors.
Facts.
3.
Can I speak?
I'm blanking. I think it was.
Can I speak?
Fuck
Sorry.
me.
Golden State, baby.
You had Golden State. Yeah. Okay.
Right
You
behind
know,
the Timberwolves.
Steph.
this
my
year,
guy.
this second half progression, obviously Golden State, I feel like 3-16 on the road is just not sustainable. I think that will eventually go up. I think they figured out who's good off the bench, who can they play. We've seen incredible minutes from Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb, Dante DiVincenzo. We've seen game winners from Von Looney, clutch fourth quarter moments against the Hawks, against the Jazz. This team is just so resilient at home. They're 17-3 at home. They fixed that road record, which literally is all they have to fix. And they're one of the best teams in the West. I don't never put that past. Steph comes back this weekend. Andrew Wiggins comes back tomorrow. That's big, especially with the way this team has been playing and firing on all cylinders. Clay looks back and back to his form. Jordan Poole looks like he's got his rhythm back. So you get all that back with the fact that you get the best point guard in the league back. You get one of the best 3-and-D players in the league in Andrew Wiggins. You bring all that back together, and you get the Golden State Warriors. And I think they've just been waiting for this moment to happen, and I think they'll have a great turnaround. Oh, my East team, though, is unfortunately, I didn't want to mention this team because I want them to tank, but it's the Chicago Bulls, baby.
Tough.
They are beating good teams, and I feel like playing against the bad teams, they understand that they have to not take those games for granted, and I think they know that now, and especially after those big wins that they've had lately. That builds up the confidence, especially for a guy like Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, who have lacked confidence lately. They've got that up now, and I think this is a team that it may not climb up to 4 or 5 or 3, but I think this is a team that heavily could be fighting for that 6th seed, maybe even the 5th. That's a stretch, but definitely that 6th seed, strongly be comfortable in that 7th seed. But I think lately they've been climbing. They can get back to that win column, and they'll be in that hunt with the Knicks, with the Pacers, I feel like, because I think they're good enough to be in that hunt.
Now, on to regressions. Talking negatively about some teams. And I think this is interesting because, there's going to be some people that say, no way we're going to drop down. But, we have to make a pick. This is called pick a side. And, I'm always picking a side.
Oh, we
no
know
doubt
that.
about it. Regression. Eastern Conference. I got the Indiana Pacers. I think the Pacers are going to regress. I mean, at one point, they were top 6, and they have dropped out to the 7th seed now. And I think they're going to be a playing team. I think that if the Bulls decide not to go into this full-blown tank and they keep their players, I can see the Bulls being ahead of them. I can see the Hawks now being ahead of them. I think the Pacers will finish with a 9th to 10th seed. They'll still be a playing team, no doubt about it, but I do see a slight regression, and I'll just name my West team now. I think, although right now it looks like they're not in a good spot, the Phoenix Suns, I have them still regressing.
Really?
I think
That's
that
a very great answer.
with the Timberwolves being better, and I see them progressing, with the Warriors being where they are, with the West, I think the teams are just so close together. This Devin Booker injury is going to hurt them a lot.
Reevaluate in 2 weeks.
Yeah. So
Damn, 2 weeks?
Oh, that might be like a week and a half or a week and a half.
So I think the Suns, and it's crazy because, I admitted I was a bit wrong about this early in the season when the Suns maintained the first seed for like 16, 17 games or 17 days. But the Suns will be a playing team. That's what they're going to be.
So you weren't.
I wasn't wrong.
No, we weren't.
Wait.
That's
That's
fact.
why you got to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they're playing great now.
They were top 5, top 5.
I think if Devin Booker doesn't get hurt, they're a top 5 seed, no doubt. But
You don't think when Booker comes back, they can't?
Yeah, the West is pretty close.
I think that with the lead some teams
Hoping
have
not.
in the West, it's going to be difficult.
You my boys
That's
to
what I
keep
think.
climbing.
But, because I don't see the Nuggets going anywhere. I don't see the Grizzlies going anywhere. The Pelicans,
Well,
Zion BI injuries are alarming.
What
But
about Portland?
They were just
They're
competitive
2.5
with the Nets.
games.
Portland they're steady.
They're
They're
2.5
gonna be steady.
games behind Dallas right now. Phoenix.
I will say this. The Jazz are going to fall out the play-in. They're going to regress.
Yes.
They won't be a playing
Because
team.
Minnesota's
But they'll be
climbing.
11th. They'll be 11th. You know, they're that team that will barely miss it. But it's just a testament to how great the Western Conference is. It's not that this team is bad. I think the Jazz are a competitive team.
They're a
and
fun team.
It's just the parity in the NBA right now is at an all-time high. But 2 regressions in the West. I think the Suns stay at a play-in level, and the Jazz will drop out the play-in.
All right, I guess I'll go. Regression, I honestly think it's going to be the Knicks. And I don't think it for a bad reason.
What the hell, man?
No, I don't think it's for a bad reason. I think the Knicks have been playing well basketball. I think Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, that big three is going to continue to play well throughout the season.
Yes.
I just think teams like Miami, teams like the Bulls, I think they would either overcome that or capture that spot. That's why I think Miami eventually, even though I don't think their team is that good, I think they will gather that spot and eventually be ahead of the Knicks. So for me, the Knicks would be the team I pick. And not because of they're not a good team. I do think they're a good team, but I think there's a few teams that could pass them and be better than them. In the West, I got the Dallas Mavericks kind of for the same thing in the East. I do think Clippers kind of have this mental thing in their head where they feel like they're not doing a good enough job right now and they've been playing like shit. I think they'll pick it up. I think they'll definitely get it back. And I think Golden State.
Is that your fanboy inside you?
No, this is like me watching. I firmly believe this. They've been rolling. They have these weird mental lapses where they
Didn't
break
Kawhi
down.
and Paul George have a combined like less than 10 points the other night?
They played like shit.
They only played like 18 minutes.
Yeah, it's weird because PG had 40 3 days before. It's really
the
weird.
game was over at halfway through the second quarter.
Mentally, they have these laps. They're too much grown men in there to have laps like this mentally as men. It's weird to me. And I also think Golden State, Sacramento, they will climb over Dallas. You know, I think Phoenix can still get up. I think Portland's going to get some wins, but overall, I think Dallas. I think Luka, what he's doing right now is not sustainable. I think he's putting the team on his back. He's putting a lot of wear and tear on his body. And I know Joel thinks Dallas can beat anybody, but the way Luka is putting so much tear on his body this much into the season, he's going to be gassed by the end of the year. He's going to be gassed. It's just going to happen. That's just how your body is.
He's a young kid, though.
He is, but the way he's putting his team on his back and he's performing, it's crazy. So I do have Dallas sliding down a little bit. I still think they'll be in the playoffs, but I have them slide.
I'm under the similar belief, though, where I do believe in Luka's ability. I just think so. It's more so the pieces around Luka, and I just don't believe in this Dallas Mavericks team. I think that's the one team in the West I do believe will regress. And as for the Eastern Conference, you hit it right in the nose, Joel, the Pacers. It's looking as if Miles Turner is not going to be able to reach a contract come to an agreement on a contract with the Pacers. So I do think that Miles Turner will be traded by the NBA trade deadline, which does make things very interesting for a lot of teams that will be suitors for Miles Turner. But that's just going to bode not well with what's going on in Indiana. And as great as Tyrese Halliburton has been playing this season, unfortunately, the Pacers just simply do not have the talent to continue to keep up with the pace that they were at the beginning of the season. I do believe that that's my Eastern Conference team to regress.
You guys took damn near all mine. The Mavericks were the one team, I think, at least in like the upper half of the West that I see regress. To Riv's point, I just don't know if Luka's going to be able to do this for another 40 games while still keeping his body in shape for the playoffs. Luka's obviously a phenomenal player, but if you could have any knock on him, it has been being able to keep his body in shape coming into the season. He's not the type of person who's training like obviously LeBron's an extreme, but like a lot of other athletes have. He's having a great start to the season. He's still going to be in the contention for MVP. But once you get to those final few games of the year, and especially in the playoffs, I do think the Mavs will drop from the 4 seed. They're still a playoff team without a doubt, and I still think they could be above the play-in, but that's the one team I look at in the upper half. And then the Eastern Conference, if I go with another upper half team, we haven't talked about it much, but the Bucks really have not been playing great basketball. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Obviously, not having Chris Middleton is a big part of that, but for the past year plus, I mean, Chris Middleton really hasn't been the most available player in the NBA, and the fact that he still hasn't really gotten over this injury and he's not been able to stay healthy dating back to the round 1 of the playoffs last season is a big question mark for this Bucks team. It definitely is, and don't get me wrong, they're the 3 seed now. Maybe they drop to the 5 or absolute worst 6 seed. They're not going to be a 7 seed playing team. I don't think Giannis physically is not going to allow that to happen. Any given night, he could put the team on his back. But like the fact that they've lost games to the Hornets and the Rockets and no disrespect the Lakers, it's just not something you want to see from a team that we thought is a championship level team.
Cleveland is 0.5 behind, baby. Don't sleep.
They're Cleveland's rising. The Sixers only game and a half back, and the East is tough. I mean, even the 6 seed and 3 seed, it's 3.5 games. It just takes 1 or 2 bad weeks.
You know what I noticed about all these teams in the West? In the East, well, actually in the West, on the road, Denver's 10-10, Memphis is 10-10, the Pelicans are 7-10, the Mavericks are 7-11, Golden State obviously is dog shit. Not even gonna say that record. Clippers 10-12, Portland's 10-13, Phoenix is 6-14.
What did my Lake show?
You're all the way at the bottom.
But
you're 8-13.
The East is the East. All
the West.
excuse me, that was looking.
The West on the road isn't good.